Okay, over to you, Janine. Woo!
Thank you for having me. I'm a little bit overwhelmed. It's like, this is your life. I've got so many people on here I know. Dawn, I used to work with years and years ago, like 10 years ago. We were in corporate together. So, hello, Dawn, among other people. So, I am talking today about creating must have offers that are easy to sell. Um, and I feel like it's worth just a sentence or two to explain what I mean by offers. So, I mean, it might be blindingly obvious, but this is a trap I fell into when I was first setting up my business. I had come out of corporate, I'd done a bit of freelancing, I decided to set up my own business as a consultant slash coach for small business owners. And I was sort of get dipping my toe into the water with social media and trying to get my name known. And I think I kind of expected people to ask me to do stuff for them. I think I expected them to come to me with what they needed. And actually, you've got to do it the other way around. You've got to, I will take you through the process today. That's what I'm going to be covering. But you've got to put together offers and say, if you need help with this, then work with me. That's how it works. You need to be constantly just drip feeding. You don't have to be saying it every day, but you have to be putting out offers. You have to be putting out your hands so that people can hold on to it. You have to be putting out these real tangible hooks that people can understand how you can help them. So that is what I mean by offers. That doesn't work. Let's do that. Who am I? I'm going to keep this super brief. Some of you know who I am, which is nice. But for those who don't, I'm Janine Coombes. You should listen to me because I've got oodles of experience, particularly with offer creation. My last corporate job or role was senior propositions manager at EE, which is a UK telecoms company. And what I do now is help small business owners, service-based owners particularly, put together offers that are easy to sell and they're so proud of. They want to shout it from the rooftops. And jumping right into it, this is how I go about creating juicy offers with my one-to-one clients. To me, there are three elements, there's three pillars. I'm going to be taking you through each one briefly, and then I'm going to really hone into promise because we don't have much time today. We've got like 10-15 minutes. So I'm going to focus in on promise. And Lucy Griffin-Stiffs knows all about this because it's another word for the promise is messaging. So let's start off then. We've got core pillar number one, and this is in order as well. First comes the promise. And what I mean by this, the reason I've called it promise, apart from the fact that it begins with P, and I just like having three Ps, and I had to come up with three words to begin with P, because that's the law, you've got to have alliteration. The other reason is that the essence I would like you to think about for your offer is, imagine your ideal client, somebody who you love working with and has the money to pay you, and they have a problem. What would you love to promise to them? If there weren't such thing as lawyers, what would you say? I promise, if you work with me, if you put the effort in, you will get this result. So have a think about that. That can be like a little bit of homework if you want. And what I also want to point out is it is based on the outcome your client wants, not what you know they need. So I'll go into a bit more detail about that later. But in essence, this is based on emotion. It is pretty wide knowledge now that the buyer decision making process is that you make a decision, even very, very rational seeming decisions are actually, you make them first on emotion and then you look for backup. So the second pillar is the package. And what I mean by package is everything that you do to help your client to get from their problem to their solution. And what you include in the package is everything you know your client needs. So it's the nuts and bolts, it's whether you include calls, it's any methods or software that you use, everything like that. But the main thing here is this is the kind of more rational kind of essence of your offer. So they've made the emotional decision and now you're just ticking boxes. In an ideal world, you would be able to read your ideal client's mind and think, oh, these are the outstanding questions in their mind. I need to be able to tick all those things off and show them with the package that it makes sense and it's logical that matches the promise that I've expressed to them, and also that it's worth the price. And the final one of my favorites, I could talk all day about pricing, But as I've mentioned, I'm going to focus on messaging for today. But the price is simply to charge a fee that matches the value of what you're offering. So if you get the messaging right, the promise, and the package right, the price should be much easier deciding that price. But mind monkeys absolutely love a good pricing decision. They'll be telling you, oh, you can't possibly charge that. Nobody's going to buy it. Oh, if you want more sales, lower the price. It's all a load of nonsense. Generally speaking, especially for service-based businesses or high-end, sort of more luxury products as well, people are more tolerant of higher prices than you might expect. And really the decision is made on that emotional element first, then the package, and usually then the price. So the reason I'm starting with and focusing today on the messaging side of things and the promise is because if you want to create must-have offers, not just nice to have, but must-have offers that are easy for you to sell, then it starts with the promise. So another way of putting it is that the promise is the benefit of your service or product boiled down to its essence. Now, if you're a marketer, you may have heard this anyway, but there's an old marketing adage: you sell the sizzle. Nearly got it wrong then. You sell the sizzle, not the sausage. Okay, so you never see food adverts saying, hey, buy this piece of dead pig, it's got 50% carbohydrate and 20% protein. They don't break it down into the individual elements. They sell on the taste. They make it look like it's steaming hot. They put it in a hot dog with onions, and they show people enjoying it, maybe with family or friends, and they put you in a social situation. It's painting a picture of the benefit you will get, the emotions you want to invoke if somebody buys that product. So I've got an example. I like to use service-based small business owners for my examples when I can. So Lucy Snell helps agency owners sell better. They call it in her circles business development, but it's selling for agencies. And I quite liked her promise. Her strapline is have control over your agency's growth, helping you win new ideal clients with confidence and ease. So I thought she'd done a really good job there. That control, and I'm not an agency, but I can see that an agency might have those peaks and troughs. And I've spoken to Lucy in the past. She's a friend, and I think Mark knows her as well. She's in the You Are the Media community. This feeling that agencies are not, they're not in control. If they feel like they're out of control of their incomings, it's horrible. It's a horrible place to be. So I thought she'd done a really good job there. So my question to you is, what do you wish you could promise your clients? And remember, it's what they want, not what you know they need. And I'm as guilty of this as anybody else. Some of the offers I've put out in the past were wholeheartedly what I thought people needed, or what I knew they needed. Come on, people, I know you need this. But if you're not talking to what they're actually wanting and what they're actually thinking about and what they're actually dreaming about, they're just not going to listen. It's just like white noise. And at the very best, they might notice your message and think it's boring, but that's sort of best case scenario. So I've got an example. I'm moving house next week. This is a very topical in my household. We're moving house. Now, my husband and I had a very, very logical list of what we wanted to buy in a house. We wanted bigger rooms, more room in the house, weren't too bothered about the size of the garden, needed to be in the best catchment for the two best schools in the area, preferably a short distance to a local train station with good links to London. And then we saw this house. It's quite ugly. It's in a 70s estate, 70s style housing. It's not in the catchment for the best schools at all. It's not near anything other than nature. There's nothing convenient about it. It's apart from nature. We went in the back garden and we both went, and we grabbed each other's hand and tears came to our eyes. We're like, oh my God, it's the most beautiful garden in the world. There is, everything went out the window, and that we've actually got our own private woodland, which we're telling everyone about. Is that, oh, you must come when we move and see our woodland. Do we need a woodland? No, we do not. No, we don't. But we have that I want it. I want it. We've paid over the odds for it. We were told by the surveyor. It's our children are going to be going to the worst secondary school when they're old enough in the area. They'll be fine. It's fine. They'll be fine. We've come to terms with it. And the kids equally, I mean, they saw the swing, this sort of ratty old rope swing there in the bottom right, and they wanted it too. They were like, oh my God, there's a pond. There's 2 ponds. So we wanted it. We did not need it, is my point. And that is what, in an ideal world, you will capture with your messaging. It's this, I've got to have it. And then it's a must have and not just a nice to have. It's like, oh, I need it now. This is exactly what I want. So I've got another example of this want versus need. So I actually know a child nutritionist. So I'm drawing on her as a little bit of inspiration. She does a good job. She doesn't talk about what people need all the time. But you could imagine that a child nutritionist trying to help parents to get better nutrition into their children, to improve behavior or whatever, and health. They might say, okay, parents, join me on my group program and learn how to feed your children 3 square meals a day and make sure they're getting a good balance of nutrition. And what you need to do is get them into routine, and you need to do this, right? That is not going to resonate with parents. I'm a parent, that wouldn't resonate with me. But I have gone through periods of time when my kids haven't really eaten, and I could imagine that what these types of parents, these client parents might actually want is for meal times to be normal, to be like a normal family sitting around a table, no screaming, no spaghetti on the walls, and everybody just enjoying their meal and smiling. And if a child nutritionist brought that to life, I think they would get a lot of sales. I think they would get more interest if they put an offer out with that messaging. So there's an example of want versus need. So how on earth, Janine, can we know what people want? I'm not a mind reader. Okay, strap yourselves in for an amazing light bulb moment, really, really tricky marketing technique that takes 30 years of corporate experience to learn. You ask them, okay? So that's that's what you do. You ask them. Rocket science, isn't it? Rocket science 101. So here are some easy ways. Think about sales conversations. Get into the habit of making notes while you're on sales conversations. If you can, and with permission, record sales conversations, because words, they will use phrases and words that you will not have thought of before. And you can use those verbatim in your messaging, in your content, in sales paging on your website. It will inspire new elements to your offer. It might spark an idea for a whole new offer. But use those sales conversations. They are gold. Even the ones, or maybe even especially the ones that don't turn into a sale. If a sale doesn't turn into a sale and you feel like you are able to, go back and ask what wasn't quite right, and make sure that they know that you're not going to judge them or hassle them or try and sell to them again, but just ask for some feedback, because that is real gold dust. Testimonials, people who've really had a lovely time, get them to tell you how they felt before and how they felt afterwards. That journey first of all, it makes for a good testimonial, but also that picture of their mind of how they were before, and actually building on that, thinking about if you can capture, if you're working with people, especially if you're working with people on a slightly more in-depth basis, like a one-to-one offer or a group program, if you can capture their thoughts of how they were feeling before they started the journey. Sometimes they can never remember how bad they felt in the first place. They'll forget the journey. So it's really good to capture that before they actually start the journey, if you can. Poll your audience, but I would say be careful when polling your audience, because if you're talking about an audience on a social media platform like LinkedIn, you will have a complete mixed bag of people in your audience. They're they're not all going to be ideal clients. They're not all going to be in the market for what you're about to put together to sell. So just be careful. And I've got a little suggestion later on about something that is good when to put out on social media in this type of for this type of purpose. And finally, and my favourite is get people on a call. A Zoom call, preferably record with permission, cherry pick the people. I mean, you don't have to have hundreds. You just have to have 3 or 4 of your real ideal clients. Get them on a call. People can be really generous with your time when if they know that you just want some help. It's quite surprising how generous people are with their time. And once on the call, everybody loves to have a moan, and that's all you want them to do. You want to ask them really open questions and just let them moan. And then if they run out of steam, just ask them a little, an extra question, and then just let them talk and write notes and record. And you can always use something like otter.ai to transcribe. But I'm a real note taker, because you'll know, especially once you get used to this process, you'll know which nuggets are like the gold dust. And you think, ooh, I could never have encapsulated that feeling as well as the client. So use those. So I wanted to give this a little bit of a LinkedIn twist, because we're talking about LinkedIn and Sarah's all about LinkedIn. So this is almost like a little reminder. I think this is all quite obvious stuff, but we just forget to do it. And actually, looking at this, I think I'm overdue doing some of this stuff as well, I'll admit. But number 1, update your profile and headline. Once you've got this messaging, update your blinking headline and your profile to make sure it's really calling out to those ideal customers and using those words and phrases that you've thought of. Use your newfound knowledge as content inspiration. I always find it interesting when people say, oh, I just can't think of what to post about. Just delve into what people are struggling with, and if you're putting together a specific offer, that should be your inspiration for that month, or even a quarter of the year, depending on how long you like to focus on selling one offer. But that, questions about your offer, why you chose to do that offer, anecdotes, case studies, you name it, use that offer for inspiration, use the problems that people have told you about for inspiration for your content. And also, LinkedIn's a fabulous place for just having conversations. And I especially like saying, how do you feel about, would you know if I use this phrase, what would that mean to you? Start those conversations, because you might find that word you use, which is can really, I'm thinking especially for ex-corporate people or people with professional training in their area, and they've got their jargon, and you're using it in one way, and then your audience, your ideal clients, don't use it that way, and you might be completely talking at cross purposes, and when you're trying to talk about something, they don't know what you're talking about. So look out for that one. And finally, LinkedIn and any social media platform, if you notice people you think you might like to work with, I sort of have a mental checklist of people. I wouldn't mind working with that person. Oh, that person's lovely, and I see that I could help them with that. I have them on a kind of mental hit list. And if you notice them complaining about a certain thing or struggling with a certain problem, note what they're struggling with, and that could be a person that you could get on a call to ask for market research as well. So that is all I've come to talk to you about today. I hope you don't. I didn't sign this off with Sarah, but this is a blog. It's not anything too salesy. But I've put together a step-by-step guide on how to create an offer, including one true way to know whether it will sell or not. And it's janinecoombes.co.uk/service-offers-that-sale- no dash at the end.